Hello everyone. I'm sorry for the last week. I was really down, but I think I'll be able to manage today better. So, what we were doing is I shared an exercise where you were supposed to set up your website with PostgreSQL and Python. And I thought many of you are actually beginners with PostgreSQL. So, I mean, since you beginners, it might be slightly difficult to get on with the website and be able to really, set it up. So some of the students obviously were of the view that they could not. So I'm actually recording the entire session here. I hope we don't hit a lot of lags or problems. Uh, so what first thing that you're supposed to do as per the exercise that I shared was you check your Python version. So usually what you do is you type Python and you type version, but by default, it's not actually going to give you anything because you need to, now we have two Pythons. There's two and there's Python 3. So when I type Python 3, my version works. So most of the commands that I'm going to use with the Python, if I type Python only on my screen, I'll get nothing. But if I add 3 to it, which is the one that's installed on my system, I'll be getting all the necessary output on my screen that I'm desirous of. So this is like first things first. The next thing that is important is that you need to actually, since you are developing a website and you are using some packages that are not there, so you will need to install a Python package, which is called the Python dev. So Python dev is like for installing developers packages, and there you go. Development packages that have not like fully matured as such. And since I do not have them installed on my system here, so what the system is going to do is it's going to fetch it from the internet and is going to install those for me here. I think it's going to take about 8 minutes. That's a lot of time, but what can we do? And in my opinion, it was supposed to work faster the internet, but for this particular connection, it's around 17 kb per second. So that's like really slow. Can happen with many of you. shouldn't be taking this long. This is not right. It's taking too long. So it's taking painstakingly long, but these are, I mean, this is one thing that's probably for some reason taking long. Otherwise, I hope so. Other libraries that we need to install will not take long, but we're gonna, if it takes too long, then we're gonna divide the sessions into two separate hours. So we do 1 hour today and 1 hour the next week, but I hope it's going to be fine. So if we have downloaded about 90% of it, so I think it should be fine. Because technically it's supposed to download 4 libraries. So we are already at the first one. And this is a bit worrying. Now this particular one is faster, better. Yes, I think it was just the first one that was taking painstakingly long to download. The rest seems to have worked well. Now, what we have done is we have the Python dev packages installed. So the first step was obviously install the Python dev packages. There were actually 4 of them. And the next step that we have to the next step that we have to do is to create a virtual environment. Now, what we do here is that we isolate our Python workspace and the libraries that we are going to use from the rest of the system. So actually we create a virtual environment within the virtual machine itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to type Python 3, and then we're going to create a virtual environment, Postgres website. So what we're trying to do here is to create a website which would be connecting at the back end with our postgreSQL database. And while we have already imported and exported files from Postgres, we still need to be able to do it through a website because that's a more common way of doing things. So I'm going to type this, and it has told me that there's something that I have not installed on my system, which is a virtual environment library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the V environment setup. I hope it's going to work. There are some other instructions. So yeah, there you go. So I'm going to create my virtual environment now. And there you go, my virtual environment has been created. Now, how do I know that it has been created? I will type ls and I'll see a folder that says PG website. So this is the one that I actually typed here. And this is the one. Now, to be able to go to this web like virtual environment and do something in it, I need to source this virtual environment. So in this virtual environment, there are actually, if I go to the folder, I'll see that there are certain files in it already created for me. And if I go in the bin folder, I have the activate file. So what really happens is this actually is going to activate my virtual environment for me, and Python creates this for you automatically. So, I mean, I don't need to edit it or anything. I'm just going to go back to where I was. I'm going to type source, and I'm going to type pg website / bin activate. And it's going to source this file. As soon as it does this, I'm going to have this PG website appear before my user at the username. And this is something that's critical and important for you to remember. So if I created a virtual environment probably with a different name, I would have that different name appear here. So, but now since I created my PG website name, so I'm in that virtual environment. Now, whatever I do is not going to be system wide. It will not affect my entire computer, but it will stay in this directory itself, PG website. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to install something that we know as Django. Now, this is something that many people actually make a living off, Python and Django. Uh, Django is something that helps you create websites using Python. So what people used to do initially, they would actually decide a structure for their website. Then they would write separate files for their websites, and they're going to put them in separate directories. What Django does is it helps you do it all automatically. You don't have to create complex architectures yourself. It simplifies the entire process. It creates all the files for you that are necessary to run a basic website. Then you can expand on that. So this is something that's very interesting that Python has as a package. And there is something that is known as uh, GeoDjango as well, which is for spatial data. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to install pip install Django. My internet seems to be working much better now. So seems like it's done. Let's see. I'm going to type Python 3, get into the Python shell. Yeah, so it's working. I didn't get any errors. I'm going to exit the Python shell. Django is installed for me. And this is something that's going to actually going to now help me create our website. Uh, the next thing that I need to do is I need to start my project. So when you're starting your project, what you're going to do is you're going to actually type Django admin, and you can just see if you get some help. So there's like a lot of available sub commands. And this is what I do with all my Linux commands, because this gives you an idea of if your command is going to work and what kind of things you can do with it. So if you see, you can run a server, you can dump data, you can create cache tables, you can get into the shell, you can make migrations, you can migrate your website, which is you're going to see in a while, and then you're gonna SQL migrate if you would like to do, and you can start an app if you have a certain app that you have created, or if you would like to start a project. So what I want to do is I want to start a Django project here. So I'm going to type Django dash admin start project. I'm going to type it shops or nearby shops. And as soon as I do so, my project would be there somewhere. So from this virtual environment, I have created nearby shops project. So I can go to the directory and look, and there is like several files that it has already created for me. So there's a manage.py file. And if I type this, so in the nearby shop directory, there is uh, a few files, that is asgi.py, settings.py, wsgi.py, init.py, and urls.py. So it sort of has set up my website for me. If you would like to see them the way you are used to seeing files on your Windows computer, you can simply go to the nearby shop and you're going to see those files here. If you would like to see more about them, you can actually open those files and see uh, what these files are meant for. But since you are creating a website, that should not be much of an issue. Your website should just, fine, be fine. So now, since your files have been created for you, you can type nano settings here. Oh, sorry, we are in the nano py directory. And I'm going to go to the nearby shops directory again, and I'm going to type the nano settings.py file. I'm going to open this file. Now, this is the main file that we have, and this actually has all the references managed for us. So, like, I mean, the references that are for our database management system. So there's some part that is in green, which means that these are the comments. So the system would not be affected by them. If I remove, like, I'm sorry, I just edited this file for no reason. I'm going to close it and then open it. So if I remove these three inverted commas here, you will see the color change here. This is something that I do not want doing, because this is actually signifying that this is not a part of the code. This is just some comments to help me get an idea of what this file is about. I would always invite you to write such descriptive comments in all the files that you create. This helps other developers or people who are trying to learn from you add information and stuff. Now, the first thing that I see here is allowed host. Now, this is something that is critical for your Django project, because your website will be accessed by people, by other servers or computers. So if you're making a website which is for a small organization only to work in, you can actually specify the specify uh, the the website ID here. So I mentioned I type localhost here. It could be 10.2.11 .15, maybe something in your organization that you would like to be mentioned here. And if you have several IPs that you need to specify, several computers, you can then separate them by commas here. Now, this is something that that is critical for you at a stage where you are starting, because even because your own system might not be able to access it, or sometimes if you would like everyone to access it, you just type an aesthetic and that should do. So like everyone shall be then able to access it. The other things that I have is there are some installed apps. Now these are applications that Django automatically created for you. You don't need to edit them now. Then there's a middleware layer that it created for you. Don't need to uh, hassle with that yet. And then there are some templates that it would be using for your website. And then you have a database connection that it has created for you by default. Now, if you look at this, this is SQLite 3. This is something that we do not plan or intend to use at this stage. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to actually create uh, a different database connection. And for that very reason, we are going to actually now comment this out. So for commenting this out, what we are going to do here is we're going to type hash, and this will turn red. That means that this is something that we do not need included in our code. And once we hash all of these lines, we then would definitely need to give it an alternative that is necessary because our website would be nothing without a database. So I'm going to type databases here, and then I'm going to mention the database that I would want to use. So it's going to be the default that I create. And that's again the engine that we are using. It's going to be Django. Contrib.gis dot contrib.gis.db.backends dot postgis. So that's what we are getting at. You type a comma, get into a new line, name, semicolon. The database that we are going to be using, call it GIS maybe. They're going to be a username as well. So the user is going to be user for us. We're not changing that. Just let me check something. Then we are going to go for And I probably might end up having some indentation issues, so I don't want to do that. Let me fix this as well. Then I'm going to mention my password, which is a simple one for the sake of these exercises here. So that was the user. I'm going to go for host. The one that we are using here is going to be localhost. We're not like accessing a database that's stored somewhere far. So we're going to type localhost here, and then we are going to type the port name. So the port is, now this is something that we might need to manage at a later stage, but ports are definitely important. So that's going to be 5432. And these are some of the components. And if you see there's a comma here, there's a comma here as well. So we need to actually replicate that. So this is a comma here as well. Yeah. And hopefully this should be fine. Uh, so we have mentioned the engine as the Django dot contrib or gis.db.backends dot postgis. Then we have the name of the database that we would like to use is called GIS, the username, the password, the host is the local host, and then the port name. Now, once this is done, we probably have everything sorted sort of for now. Double check this if there be anything wrong. I don't think so. And I'll just save this by typing Control X and then Y for yes, and then pressing enter. So now the file has been added. So I'm going to type and see if the file is fine. Uh, sorry. Nano settings.py. Yeah, the edits have been made. Everything is fine, I guess. There's one thing that's missing though. We don't have a database that says GIS. So I'm going to go to the manager here. This time I'm going to go to the I'm sorry, everyone. There was an issue with the new Microsoft Teams that I was using, so I have gone back to the old one. Uh, so here we are uh, at the window, and our file looks fine so far. There's no indentation issues, hopefully. The spacing is all fine. Python can be a bit of trouble when it comes to those kind of things. The parentheses are one here, one here, one here, one here. So they are closing like this one just corresponds to this one corresponds to this one. So hopefully that's going to be fine as well. So the file looks fine. The next thing we're going to actually again open the settings.py file, and we are going to go to the installed apps. Now there's one app that needs to be added here. So once I'm here, if you see there's an admin app, there's an authentication app, there's a content type, there's a session management app, there's a messages app, there's some static files app. But there's one thing that's missing here is that it is missing any reference to GIS. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to type Django dot contrib dot GIS. And this is going to be our GIS package that we call here, and we're going to add a comma here. Now our things are going to be fine. Not much, but still we're going to do that. We're saving the file. The file has been saved. I'm going to go to my geospatial databases, PHP PG admin. And to see if I have a database named GIS. So I don't have anything that's named GIS. And I think I need to have one here. So I could simply just do things that I did through the command line, where I would go and type create db GIS, and then I'll have a GIS database. Then I'm going to install all the necessary extensions and all. But that can wait for now. That can wait for now. The next thing that we need to do is we need to install a library which will be helping us connect with our spatial database. Now there's a library that is called the PsychoPG2. So PsychoPG2 is PSYPG2. Now, this is one library that we use for connecting to postgreSQL using Python, and is a very worthy one, works well with many of our requirements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually install this. I'm going to type pip install psychopg2-binary. Uh, if you just type psychopg2 and then install it, you probably are going to have an error. And this is what the default uh, suggestion is. So I would rather recommend that you go with the binary version here. And if you type that, you're probably not going to have many issues with the installations. while this is installing, what I could do is, which we usually do is, I could actually split this terminal into two. I'm gonna type PSQL here. I'm gonna create DB database GIS / connect to the database GIS. I'm gonna type create extension post GIS create extension raster. I think it was PG raster or PostGIS raster, something like that. Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna so my spatial reference has been created. If I go there and refresh it, so I have a GIS DB managed for me, and I think that should be fine. The spatial reference table is already there. The SRIDs and everything would be managed for me, hopefully. What text is there? It should be fine. I could just disconnect and exit. This is good. You know, you could actually manage things. So once that is done, I have the PsychoPG. Now I should be able to connect to my database. I'll go from this directory here, to a higher level directory nearby shops. There's this file called manage.py. I'm going to open this file, and this is actually the one that is going to be running my application for us, our application for us. So what I could do is, hopefully we won't have many issues, manage.py start app, and shops. Now, what it has done is it has created a directory for us where our app, where we'll be adding our location of our shops and everything will be managed for us. So this is something that we had to create, because what we are trying to do here is we are trying to create a website where if we add a certain point on the map, maybe of a certain shop or of a certain office and address, it gets stored in our database. So we have created this one, and I've gone to this directory now. I'm going to go to the models file here, and we're going to see that our models are empty here. Another thing that we're going to notice if we do it is that if we go to our setting files, for that matter, we do not have this in our apps list, and I think we would need to do that as well. So sorry for forgetting it earlier, but we have to add the shops app that we just created here as well. Otherwise, we're going to have issues. So this is the main app that we have now created. Now we're going to go back to our models. .py file. And now we need to actually create our models for how our database is going to store data. So what we need to do is we need to actually have, like what I did mention here before is, let me show you what we're trying to do here. So we have a Django website. We need to create a web page where information added is stored in our database, and information from our database is read and displayed by our website as well. Now, what we're doing here is we have, for that matter, an application which says nearby shops. And in that, we are creating an app that says shops, which will specifically store and retrieve our shops data for us. Now, this is what we have. So for that, what we're trying to do here is we're going to create a model. Model would be how data is stored, such as shop name, shop location, shop address, shop city. You can have as many fields, but we need to tell Django that our model needs to be of this kind. So what we have here is we have, first we're going to create a class called shops, and we are going to say that this is part of our models. The information is going to have is name, models dot field, we're going to mention the max length as 100 here. You could have any length for it. Location, models dot point field. This is going to be actually lat long that we're going to get, because you see in our application you will see that we're going to actually click on this on the locations, and we're going to get that data through a Google API. Address is going to be models dot, I'm going to copy this, going to give it a maximum length of 100 as well. You could actually alter, and you're going to mention the city name. And here we could say that since city names are short, so we could say maybe 20 characters max. So this is the model that we have created for our data. You could probably change it if you want to create your website for a different kind of data altogether. So this is this is like the initial setting up of your website. I'll be right away uploading this recording for you, and you can then, try setting up this much of your website and see if we could, build upon this in our next session. Uh, so one thing that we need to do here is we need to actually uh, do some other administration related things with our website as well. As for now, I'll just upload this recording because we are already hitting the 50 minutes mark. And I personally believe that this should not be more than 50 minutes a day. So, or for a session. So I'll stop here, and then the rest of the exercise we do in our next session, hopefully. Thank you so much. If you have anything to say, please go ahead. Thank you, everyone. You're welcome. Bye.